Hey YouTube. So there have been some folks watching either my Bergara B14 build video or my monthly NRL 22 Course of Fire videos. Have been asking about the scope that I'm running this year on this rig, the Arken. And so I thought, I have a really crummy day today. It's a week between Christmas and New Year's and not a whole lot going on this week, so figured this would be a good time to actually go through this scope, tell people a few things that I like about it, things I don't particularly care about it, my overall impressions, and maybe it'll help you make up your mind. I will qualify this by saying I'm in no means a technical expert on optics. I'm just going to give you some of the basics, specs on this scope and my initial impressions and compare it to a few other scopes that I've run. So if I mess up some things or stumble around a little bit, understand I'm not an optical expert. I'm just a shooter that looks through the scope and pulls the trigger and hope that my wind call was right. So I just wanted to give people a few things to consider about this and my initial impressions. So this particular scope here is the EP-4, the 6-24 power, 50mm objective, first focal plane. It's in mils. This was actually one of the first runs of this particular scope, is my understanding. It would have been manufactured sometime in the late 2019, and I had actually ordered one about this time last year, so real early 2020, and of course that's right when COVID made a big appearance in the United States and things all went crazy. So what I'd anticipated being about a 8 to 10 week lead time actually drug out for many months, and during that time I happened to find this scope secondhand. So I went ahead and bought this one because I wanted to give it a try for the new season starting in June of 2020, and I wanted to have this rifle built and ready to go. So this one's actually one of the first series manufactured. My understanding there's a second generation out now with some improvements, so some of the things that I mentioned about this scope may have changed depending on what's available now. But anyway, so this is a 6-24 by 50 first focal plane. It's in mils, 30mm tube, Japanese glass is my understanding. It has the 10th mil turrets on both the elevation and the windage. Nice zero stop, so I can dial it up, and when I come back down to my zero, there's a real hard, firm stop on that. Arken says that this has 28 mils of internal elevation adjustment. Full disclosure, I haven't actually verified that, but I have it on a 20-minute rail here, and with my 50-yard zero, I can actually dial up 18.5 mils, so I could still in theory gain some bottom end elevation if I went to a little bit steeper of a rail, maybe a 45-minute, but dialing up 18.5 mils on this 22, that will get me to 400 yards, and there's plenty of other holdover if I ever wanted to go any further. At this point I don't have any need to be able to dial any more than that. On the other side here we have a parallax that goes from basically 25 yards to infinity. That 25 yard minimum is kind of important when you're in the 22 game, since there are some targets that are up close. And when you get this, comes in a really nice sturdy beefy box. Of course it was packed inside of another box, but got your owner's manual. Haven't actually ever looked at that. Lifetime warranty on these. Again, haven't had any reason to try that out yet. sunshade, threads in there, put it on, took it off, haven't used it since. There's some other little bits and bobs, a little cleaning rag. This one came with some rubber scope caps that I've never taken out of the box, and I think when I ordered my second one there was a promotion going and they threw in some extra little goodies with it. So that's kind of the broad overview on this scope. I'll like to talk about a few things that I really like about it and a few things that I'm not so crazy about next. So a couple of things that I really like about this scope. I suppose the first thing is glass clarity. You know, I don't have any super high-end scopes to compare it to, but I've got a few others around the same price point and maybe a little bit more, and of all those, this is by far the clearest glass of any of those, and I'll bring those other ones out here in a minute. For the money, I haven't seen anything better for the clarity. The elevation and windage clicks, very solid. You can hear them, you can feel them. I've shot them with gloves on. There's no ambiguity of when you've dialed one. Nice and solid. The zero stop, again, real solid. You know when you've hit it. Those are the things I really like about it. Some things I'm not terribly crazy about. I suppose the big one being the reticle in this scope. This one of the first generation ones, has what they call the EP-4 reticle, and this is a printout of it here. Again, first focal plane, so it's always true no matter the magnification you have it on. But you'll notice a couple of things. First off, it's a center dot, and the first mil of elevation here is in dots, and they're actually quarter mil spacing. These dots at lower magnification, so anything less than maybe 10 or so, are extremely small and very difficult to pick up. On a nice fresh painted white steel target, not a problem. One that's been shot up, something that's gray, something that's black, they're very hard to see at low magnification. That's probably my biggest complaint about this reticle. It also has this ranging system up here. I find that completely useless and, you know, see no practical application for that at all. Again, I don't know why they did that. I would have preferred just, you know, a couple more mil lines up here that you could use for measuring or ranging or whatever. They're in 10th mil spacing. Lower magnifications you can't see them, but higher mag, they're fine. I actually don't mind the 10th mil. The bigger marks are at full mils and half mils, so those are pretty easy to see. The Christmas tree style here, broken up, it's alright. But again, my big complaint I think for this scope overall is that center dot. One thing about this scope, and actually my other one is the same, maybe other examples aren't this way, the magnification ring is extremely stiff. I had to put an Anarchy Outdoors throw lever on this one. If I didn't have the throw lever, it would be nearly impossible to rapidly change it. Not a great setup for a match rig where you're under time. Throw lever makes it manageable. Still pretty stiff. I wish it was loose, a little bit looser. Again, I've been running this one about 6 months now, and I can't tell that it's loosened up too much at all. So that would be my other gripe. One other kind of minor thing, but it's, you know, maybe a preference thing, is that on the parallax knob, or the focus knob, there are no markings at all on this as far as distances. A lot of other knobs will have it broken out, 25, 50, 100, so on. This one has nothing. It has a little ramp on here, so so this is infinity, of course, and this is down at the minimum. I kind of find that annoying, simply for the fact that if I'm getting set up to shoot a stage and I know all the targets are at 50 or 75 or 100, at somewhere in there, I can set my focus beforehand, and then I don't have to mess it. And then when I get on the gun, I'm not fiddling around with this. I know I should be pretty close. I went ahead and actually just sharpied in the 50 and 100 marks on there, and I can guess in between there, and it's close enough. But getting set up, I would really like some markings on there. And again, that may be something that's changing. One thing that I do know is that they are now offering a second generation with a different reticle, and this is called the SHR reticle. They've gone to taken away the center dot. You got a cross there. Love that. Got rid of this useless ranging mess up here. Love that. These are actually 1/2 mil spacing now. Perfect for most things. If I were to buy again, this would be the reticle I would choose. I don't necessarily need all the extra Christmas tree style stuff off the side here. I use it once in a while, but I think for most applications, this would be the reticle I get. So there's one thing they've fixed going forward. If I get another one, that'll be it. So some of the scopes that I own that I can compare this Arken to, Vortex, Diamondback Tactical, first focal plane. This one's actually an MOA. This is the rifle that I ran for NRL 22 last year, and I've kept it around as a loaner gun. The Arken on my current NRL 22 rifle, I've got the Athlon Aries BTR on my AR, and I actually had a Vortex Viper PST, similar power, first focal plane. I've since sold that one, but I did have that one for a while on my Ruger Precision, my 6.5. And so those are the optics that I can compare this to as far as preferences go. Little bit of a price range difference. Obviously the Diamondback Tactical is a little bit lower MSRP than the Arken. The Aries a little bit higher. The Vortex Viper was about the same as the Athlon here. So, but they're all sub $1,000 optics. This one by far, this one kind of in the middle, this is a little bit up toward the top. And of course, obviously you can shop around and get deals. These two were actually secondhand scopes, and now these days with the warranties, buying a secondhand scope isn't an issue, and you can save quite a bit of money doing it that way. But this is what I have. This is what I've been able to compare it to. Again, out of all of those scopes, the two Vortexes, the Athlon and the Arken, by far the Arken is my favorite. There are some things I like about the Vortexes and the Athlon, but as an overall bang for your buck, the Arken I've been extremely happy with it. Of course, there's some features of the Diamondback Tactical that you just aren't going to get for the money. No zero stop, but magnification. The feel of this one is nice. The clicks are a little mushy, but it does have focus markings, yardage on the focus. So I like that. The Athlon turrets, or the clicks on the turret, nowhere near as crisp as the Arken. They're nice and loud, but they don't feel like it's a real solid click. In fact, the windage on this one is a little bit mushy, and you can barely hear it at all. This one has markings for as far as yardages, and this one also has illuminated reticle. I don't need illuminated reticle for most things. If it's there, it's fine. I kind of enjoy it on this, but I've never in a match thought that I needed it. The Vortex, the Viper, it had very, very solid clicks. I really had no complaints about that scope at all, except that it was in MOA, and I'm trying to move everything away from MOA. I've kept the Diamondback Tactical on this one in MOA simply as a loaner rifle. I don't have anything else to put on it at the moment. Maybe I'll depart with it at some point, but that's the only reason I sold the Viper. It was a good scope. I really liked it. So, you know, of the four, hands down, every day I would choose the Arken over those. Lifetime warranty on all these scopes. The Vortex, the Diamondback, and the PST Viper, I believe, are both made in the Philippines. This Athlon is made in China. Arken made in China as well. There's very few scopes in this price range, maybe none. Like I said, I don't know everything about it, but that are made in the USA. Some may be assembled in the USA, but they're all, most have components from overseas. Japanese glass in this one, and I believe it's Japan for the Athlon, and for the Vortexes, I can't recall off the top of my head. No real complaints about any of these, but if I had to choose, Arken all the way on that. A couple of other thoughts regarding the Arken and the others. Vortex and the Athlon, solid established companies. The Arken, from what I can tell, been around a little over a year, maybe a year and a half. They really started kind of making an appearance in the summer of 2019, from what I could tell. Some people, that puts them off a little bit. I saw some initial real great reviews on it and decided it was something I wanted to try. I haven't heard too many complaints, if any. I can't think of any specific ones of anybody sending Arkens back for warranty work. I'm sure there's cases out there, but I can't recall any of them. These guys you can buy off the shelf in a lot of places. Places like, you know, your Shields and your Cabela's and Bass Pros, your big box stores will carry those. Almost any local gun shop will have some sort of Vortex or Athlon on the shelf. Not a problem there. The Arken, a little bit of a new offering, not a lot of people carrying it. The supply is much lower than the demand right now, it seems. I just looked right now on the Arken website, and they're saying 8 to 10 weeks lead time now for one of these. That said, that's what they had posted when I ordered mine last year at this time, so early 2020. They said 8 to 10 weeks. I ordered it. COVID made its appearance. Everything slowed down, borders shut down. It was a giant mess. It took almost 5 months for mine to show up. Again, I don't know there's anything anybody can do about that. You know, it's a new offering. The supply just isn't there yet, and international shipping and stuff like that is just a disaster right now. So don't have any illusion that you can order one and have it here next week ready to go. But, you know, that said, I wouldn't mind waiting the 8 to 10 weeks or the 5 months again, knowing what I'm getting for this. You're just gonna have to be patient. So I'm sure there's some things that I've forgotten to mention. I'd be happy to answer any questions. There's some pretty good Facebook groups that folks have shared their experiences with it on there. You know, again, I'm not an expert on this. I I'm just a shooter, but for this type of rig, for what I do, NRL 22 type work, I love it. It's the best scope for the money that I have seen so far, and it's the favorite out of all my collection. And I actually have two of these. I have another rifle identical to this, but in 6.5, and so that's kind of cool having the same scope on two different calibers, and everything set up the same. So appreciate any feedback, any questions. I'll do my best to answer, and thanks again for watching.